From AccuWeather.com, this is AccuWeather Daily, a brief host-read article. It's weather news in a nutshell. All eyes are on Hurricane Helene as it roars toward the Gulf Coast with anticipated landfall later this evening. Helene is forecast to peak as a Category 4 hurricane with maximum sustained winds between 130 and 156 miles per hour, while over the Gulf of Mexico. Helene could retain that intensity up to the time of landfall. Hurricane warnings are in effect for the Florida Big Bend area, while tropical storm warnings are in effect for much of the rest of the Florida coastline, except for the western part of the Florida Panhandle. Tropical storm warnings were also in effect for the Georgia coast and much of the South Carolina coast. There are still some risks that the storm may drift a bit to the west or the east, but steering breezes are more deliberate with this storm over the Gulf of Mexico compared to some of the past that have shifted their tracks considerably at the last minute. At landfall, anticipated between 7 and 9 tonight, Helene will have maximum sustained winds of around 120 miles per hour, with much stronger gusts to at least 140 miles per hour, and an AccuWeather local storm max of up to 160 miles per hour. The impacts of a hurricane go well beyond its potentially destructive winds. The AccuWeather Real Impact Scale for hurricanes incorporates storm surge, flooding, rainfall, population density, and economic impacts, in addition to maximum winds. Due to complications from torrential rainfall, these impacts occur not only along the coast, but hundreds of miles inland. The AccuWeather Real Impact for Helene has been raised to 4. By far the most dangerous part of a hurricane as it approaches the coast and makes landfall is the storm surge. This potentially life-threatening aspect of a hurricane is the height of water above astronomical tides. In a matter of minutes, water can surge with depth and force and lead to drowning. Because of the shape of the coast, which can trap excess water in the Big Bend area of northern Florida, and the forecast intensity and track of Helene, AccuWeather meteorologists anticipate a storm surge up to the height of a 2-story building, or 15 to 20 feet, later on tonight. At this height, some single-story buildings along the coast may be completely underwater. However, a significant and dangerous storm surge will extend well to the south and east of where the eye comes ashore. For example, a peak storm surge of 6 to perhaps 10 feet can occur on Thursday night in portions of Tampa Bay, where west winds will cause the water to pile up on the eastern parts of the bay. Because of strong easterly winds off the Atlantic Ocean, a significant storm surge and coastal flooding are expected from northeastern Florida to Georgia and South Carolina. Portions of Savannah and Charleston could be inundated from Thursday night into Friday. A tremendous amount of rain will fall in northern Florida, with rain heavy enough to cause travel problems and lead to minor flooding in southern and eastern Florida, and the potential for catastrophic flooding in northern Florida, especially the eastern part of the Panhandle, with a general 8 to 12 inches of rain forecast. The AccuWeather local storm max rainfall for Helene is 24 inches, but may occur hundreds of miles inland of the Gulf Coast. Many hurricanes that make landfall release energy that can trigger severe thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes and waterspouts. Every hurricane is different, but Helene has the potential to spawn multiple tornadoes, especially to the east of its track. Conditions may cause considerable risk to lives and property, even as the storm travels well inland from strong winds and flooding rain in portions of Georgia, South Carolina, western North Carolina, the Virginia Panhandle, eastern Tennessee, and perhaps parts of Kentucky and West Virginia. The dangers range from rapid urban flooding, flash flooding along small streams, significant rises on the rivers, and mudslides in the mountainous terrain. The combination of pouring rain, increasingly wet soil, and strong winds will lead to the risk of falling trees, broken tree limbs, and widespread power outages. That's all for now. For the latest on Helene, go to AccuWeather.com. And for your local forecast at your fingertips, including a hurricane tracker, download the AccuWeather app. Enjoy the rest of your day, be safe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more weather news from AccuWeather.